This week in comic books, Deceased, War of the Undead Gods. Number 1 came out. And what a great concept. Undead Gods. What does that mean? We're going to talk about that. Also in the land of Marvel, Ghost Rider, Vengeance Forever. What a title and what a statement. Like, it fits. And in the land of independence, I don't have any independents, but we're going to talk about an independent, and you know which one I'm talking about. Let's break that one down. All that and a few other comic books right after this intro.
Come and never sleep on me. I some change so know go get what you're looking at.
Hey, what's going on, you wonderful weirdos? It's your boy Pocan Joe, and I'm back with another week of comic books and some interesting stuff in the community. Things are getting weird. We're going to break it all down for you. Well, not really. We're just going to highlight a few things. But first, let's jump into our comic books. So we got this beautiful cover this week. I don't know what it is with these Deceased covers. Like, I've been collecting these particular ones for a while now, where it's kind of a zombified superhero, but I've really been enjoying those. And of course, this one came in the JCPD Coroners. It's a little body bag looking thing. Yeah, I had to get two because I didn't want to show you a wrinkled up bag. So one will probably go into an auction. So what is this about? So what happens when the new gods, right? You know, Darkseid's kind of like Nemesis, the good guys over in Apocalypse or whatever they call themselves. You know, the new gods. What happens when they get infected with the anti-life virus zombie making formula? What happens? All kinds of goodness. Because now our superheroes have real consequences. When it was just humans and they had to round them up and try not to kill them in case there was an antidote option, you know, and that whole thing, and some hard choices had to be made here and there where some people had to lose their lives. For instance, Batman and a few of his little get-along gang. And Alfred had to do that, and we addressed that. And then also to cut up this kind of heaviness that's in the story with these kind of moments of levity where Damian Wayne's like saying, I'm Batman. You know, it was great, and then we still have this world-crushing threat that's about to come. We finally save Superman, who's sitting in the middle of the sun, just getting all kinds of charged up, and we're trying to give him the antidote, his son, and of course a lot of their friends. Luckily, they were able to work as a team. Teamwork makes the dream work. So that happened. Also, next book I picked up, alright, so Sandman. So Sandman's coming out. I've watched several of the episodes of this already now. I didn't really read a whole lot of Sandman back in the day. I want to now because I'm really kind of digging this. I want to know what the differences are between the show and everything. But this is just kind of like a, hey, this is kind of what happened in the first issue with a little bit more meat potatoes to it, so you can sink your teeth into it. I've been enjoying it. I always like woo-woo when it's done in realistic terms. That may not make sense, but in my head it does. Like woo-woo, just a thing that makes everything better. I don't like that, but I like it when the woo-woo has consequences and the woo-woo has limits, right? Limits and stuff like that. And I think the show and the comic book explains that very, very well. Moving on, Blood Syndicate number 4 comes out. If you've never seen this show before, you know I'm a fan of Blood Syndicate, and this kind of fills in some of the plot holes and some of the questions we had before. Again, we liked it, but that doesn't mean we're going to gloss over some things that were kind of missing. And I was like, when did these people get powers? That kind of gets explained in here, the difference between our two soldiers and the populace that got infected with superpowered spray juice, whatever you want to call it, pathogen, whatever you want to call it. So that kind of got explained in here. And then we find out that this Holocaust character is like not kidding when he says, this area, my hood, if you will, is mine, as he blows up the bridges and kind of shuts everything down. Loads of first appearances in here. I know some of you, that's your collecting thing, right? So, and origin as well in here as well. So yeah, this is good. I like the way this reads. We find out that the scope of this hero and villain thing is a lot broader than initially given to us. Like there's possibly hundreds, maybe thousands of these superpowered people around there now. Next, Green Lantern number 1 comes out. I always try to pick up a Green Lantern number 1 to see how I'm going to feel about it, and usually I end up dumping it pretty quickly. I don't know. It's just something about the Green Lantern that just irritates me in the back of my head. It's like, not Golden Age Green Lantern, because like he had a weakness. It was wood. You could literally just clobber that dude with a baseball bat and you'd be fine. But in this one, we find out the role of John Stewart in here, our ex-Marine, all-powerful Green Lantern guy now who does what most heroes, soldiers, you know, in any archetype generally does. They want that peaceful life out on a farm. He's got the battery of Oa with him, which has been made to look like his long-lost little sister now, who their mother takes care of. And apparently John's role at this point is just to show up when like things get just a little too heavy for the entire Green Lantern Corps. And then at the end, of course, we get our kind of pseudo tie-in with Dark Crisis that's popping off. So yeah, it's not really my kind of story. I could see where somebody would like this. Also, the end story in the back, it's Hawk Girl. There's some interesting philosophy behind it. We talked about him last week, which is surprising that we'll talk about him again, but it's Jean-Paul Sartre. He was a philosopher, and he didn't really like religion because of this whole fact of what is the point of our existence on Earth? It is if it's to be constrained to live a certain way, eventually to get to heaven, but according to most Abrahamic faiths, to get to heaven, all you really got to do is just ask for forgiveness and get blessed off and go, right? So what is our point here on Earth as it comes to? In this case, we're dealing with a reincarnation, and the question is, if you never really die, like an afterlife going someplace else, is there any point to your existence, or are you just existing? Like that you have no purpose or no use, you just keep showing up constantly. Yeah, you may do some good things, some bad things, we're all going to do that, but really what is the point if there is no period? Do you get that? Like, it's done, period, the end. Right? What is the point of the rest of it if that doesn't exist? So yeah, it was pretty cool. I like that deep take on it. And there's other ways you could take it too, I guess. Like well, several other actually. I don't want to get too dark, but that's just the first one that kind of stuck out in my head as I was reading it. Next, Predator 2, Revenge, Vengeance. What's the difference between those two things? You would want to say in Predator here, our character whose family was slain by a savage predator who killed her family, and she, goes around trying to find this one, but apparently she's hunting down a bunch of the predators, and we're just calling predators for now, so, common speak so everybody understands what we're talking about, right? Goes around, starts hunting them all down, and kills all these ones until she finds what she wants. Well, revenge would be directly to the one, right? That's the one thing you're mad at. Whereas vengeance is just whatever gets in your way. You're going to destroy to get to the thing. There's the difference, right? It's an interesting story. There are parts where I'm just like, that's just cheesy, corny. I can't relate to that. And then there's other parts where I'm like, oh, okay, I get you. I feel you. Like, crash landing a ship on a deserted planet and then just being alone. The computer's down, it can't talk to you anymore. That happens in here. There's obviously no remorse killing these other predators. Trying to befriend another culture or another alien culture, if you will, and them not understanding you and only see you as a threat. I could relate to that throughout my travels. So, yeah, there's some good points in here and some very just kind of that's whimsical woo-woo nonsense and it shouldn't exist. But yeah, for the most part, I don't know if I'll pick up number 2. Obviously, the only reason why I picked this one up is one, Prey came out, right? The movie on Hulu. And of course, my wife says I have to pick up all Scotty Young covers. And if we buy a comic book, we read a comic book. So I'm kind of forced into that. But it was pleasant as far as that goes. Something that I wish they would just stop dead and just reboot. Avengers Number 59. I know some people are going to like this, mostly because it had this really cool idea of taking it to the Wild Wild West. If you don't know, our Avengers are traveling through time. Mephisto's up to some evil plan. They're trying to change the timeline and the Avengers throughout history. And in this particular one brings us to the Wild Wild West. Remember that movie? It's actually pretty good. So there we are now and we have a version of the Starband's character and the Phoenix. Um, this the story just misses. I'm sorry. They go to save something that's on a train, some people, and it's an alien ship, Sakari or something like that. And then it turns into an ambush. We're not really sure why it's an ambush. It could have been the issue before this, in all fairness. Um, and then they start battling out while they're flying through the air or whatever. And then, like, some of the most cheesiest dialogue just starts happening for no reason. Thor and Iron Man show up, right? They're traveling in the past, along with all the other Phoenix, Valkyries, and everybody else. This is a very female-led story. Not that that's a bad thing, but it should be noted. Of course, in this one, Tony Stark finds out that this iron steampunk type thing he's fighting is actually has something to do with him. So again, it's Tony Stark fighting himself. Thor's oblivious to everything for some reason. I don't know when this ridiculous Thor started popping up, but it is our thing now. And everybody else just kind of took a side seat while all this stuff was flying around. What threw me off the most is our country or our Western characters. Their dialogue kept changing from a more modern feel, like they were talking in modern times, and then just randomly would start sounding like words would start being placed in a way that would make them sound like they were from the West, South part of the West during those times, and it fluctuated through to the point where it was just kind of annoying, because I like to read words and then look at picture, and then I'm like, wait, that's the wrong person, you're going kind of back and forth in that. I don't know. Did you read this? What did you think? What am I missing? Did I miss something in the first issue that kind of explains this better? Because this thing's just missing for me on all scales. It was such a cool idea with this hanging tree at the gallows and and the deal with the devil type of thing. It was a really cool concept. And then from there, it was like train heist time. Oh, look, we're cowboys, and it came off bad. All right, next, Punisher number 5. So Punisher number 5 comes out, and something great happens. First, we get a bunch of backstory. How Frank Castle, Punisher, and his wife met. They were actually put together through a sneaky little friend who was kind of, Frank Castle's friend through high school, kind of helped him, kind of focus his anger and hockey and stuff. Kids ends up dying, so Frank Castle's got to go kill all the kids that were involved in his friend's death, and to, escape any type of ridicule or consequences of this, he's going to go rush off, join the Marines, finds out, his main squeeze is pregnant. Obviously, he goes anyway. A lot of backstory in here. And then all of a sudden, we get what we want, right? Ares, the god of war, Punisher. Might as well just go ahead and call him the Avatar of Murder at this point. And they're clashing. And Ares is wearing the old Punisher logo on his vest while he's attacking the Punisher. And I was like, old versus new, old god, right? So I'm glad that was used in some way, shape, or form. It made sense, and I'm kind of digging it. As campy as it is to a mortal man fighting a god, as weird as that is, unless it's the Odyssey, because then it makes sense. Read the Odyssey sometime, you'll know why it makes sense. But in this case, I like this because Ares actually has a lot of respect for Frank Castle, and he does not like what the Beast, right, his cult, is kind of transforming him into. He liked the pure ravage of him, not this basically dog that just goes and murders people. He doesn't like that. He likes pure war, and it's a great philosophy too. Pure war. You should look that up. What is pure war? Just Google it. It is fascinating to watch or to learn about. But getting back to this, yeah, this is okay. I was getting kind of scared that it was just going to be a love story and a bunch of flashbacks, and 90% of the book is that. But it made up for it. Next, Ghost Rider, Vengeance Forever. So this is just a quick analog of basically what Ghost Rider has been throughout the histories, both comic book and in the deep past, and moving all the way up to its current time now. But the theme that seems to go is that vengeance, right? That the constant search for vengeance, and vengeance needs to go. And again, we've already explained what vengeance is. It's not revenge. Two different things. But what I liked about this most, right? Most of us know the majority of the stories of Ghost Rider if you've been collecting for any period of time. What's interesting about this is that this tattoo artist, this ghostly tattoo artist, kind of gets the concept that just when you do things that are horrible, right? Murder, killing, whatever the case may be, yeah, your exterior gets hardened, you get kind of hardened by it, but does your soul ever really do it? Don't you carry those souls there? And how that plays, how the ink kind of plays that onto the skin and what that canvas would look like. I always love those kind of I don't know, meta expressions of the internal versus the external and how it's visible. I really liked that, and it got pretty deep, and I really enjoyed it. And then it just went right into the let's just kill everybody and do everything with cool graphics like this right here. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I thought it was funny that he mentioned to the tattoo artist, "Bet you never met a biker before that didn't have, no tattoos before." And then that's when the whole conversation started. Everybody's got tattoos. They're just not always external. Love that. All right, so that's my haul this week. No Independence. Mostly it was like number 5s and 6s of stuff that I dropped a while back. So let's talk about Black Flag. So I wasn't at C2E2. I should put that up front. And I've tried to get information from both sides of the house on where people stand on this, both good and bad. The one that I generally trust the most, I should mention that first, is Chip Getler, White Shadow. I want to say he's one of the first ones that broke it. I can't confirm that totally, but it's the first one I heard from in any of my feeds. And hearing his story and what happened there. I think the biggest, I don't know what to put. I don't want to get into the staples and stapling something on there. Once you buy something, if you alter it and resell it, generally there's no problems with that. Think of a blank cover, right? When you give it to an artist, does something on a blank cover and then sells it, right? It's the same concept. You just altered the comic book and resold it. If you paid for it, it doesn't matter. I think the biggest problem here is that there's a very basic business practice when you're a retailer or a distributor or something along those lines. Your business-to-business relationships, right? They're over here. And your retailer customer base, they're over here. And you never let them see how one works to the other. You don't do this because you're trying to block transparency. It's just very hard to explain to the average customer, right, why the guy that's buying in bulk gets a lesser price, or because they bought in, or because they were allowed to pre-order, or anything along that. It's just an unethical practice. Well, I hate to say this, but most businesses do this. Most retailers do it, and that's not an unusual concept by no means whatsoever. But you definitely don't show, right, that one's getting a certain thing versus the other, because all you're doing at that point is you're devaluing the customer, and they tend to get upset about that. That's where you're at now. Now, his 30-minute rant on Instagram, that was completely and utterly uncalled for. That was no. And again, he's just talking about how he's hooking up his influencers, and I can't make everybody happy. That's no concern of the customer whatsoever. And you never let your customers sweat. Everything's easy, right? Your customers should see that everything that you do is easy, simple, fast, and effective. That's why I do it. That's why I'm a professional. Right? You don't whine and cry about how you drove 22 hours. You had customers that drove more than that. Like, they go there to spend money, and that's the money you're trying to make. You don't fault them, right? I don't know why he even thought that 30-minute rant was even necessary. If you didn't miss the 30-minute rant, there is a gentleman here on YouTube. He got the majority of it. I'm going to link that down below. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Watch a little bit of it and come back and let me know what you think. But again, Chip Getler kind of broke the news to me, and Chip Getler is one of those few people I know I can hand my wallet to, show up 2 days later to pick up my wallet, and not even have to open it up to check to see if anything's in there. That's how much I trust Chip Getler. Like, I'm not even kidding. There's only a handful of people I can literally say that about. I have no reason not to believe him. And I know that there's some people that are angry out there. And, I get it. And he did some things that kind of pissed some people off. But for the most part, at the end of the day, I have always said this. You can be a community, you can be a family, you can be a market. But you can't beat all three at the same time when money's involved. You're going to have to choose. And that's the sad part of it. So I don't know. It's weird. Alright guys, I got nothing else. Get ready for the weekend. Got an Evil Layer project coming out. Oh, by the way, as a spoof of the whole UF acetate. Oh, by the way, acetate's nothing more than recycled plastic. I don't know why we keep making a big deal out of that. It's a lesser product. Acetate is nothing special. It is nothing more than adding an acidic acid to the plastic base and putting it into a sheet. That's it. It's not a big deal. Chemical makeup of it right here. It's right here. Look it up. It's more of a process than it is a thing. It's not that big of a deal. It shouldn't cost any more than the comic book. A few cents easy. Alright guys, I got nothing else. I gotta get out of here. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.